Wow, it's filling up.
Hi, Ilsey!
Hello.
Yay!
Oh my God, so many amazing people.
Forever.
Hello,
Yeah.
everyone.
Does anybody else, who's actually wearing pants? That's the question.
It's
No,
definitely not.
I'm not.
I'm definitely not wearing pants.
Who needs pants?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. This is a truly monumental and historic day. It is just going to be an incredible experience. My name is Ian Drew. I am the Consumer Editorial Director of Billboard, and I have just the supreme pleasure of introducing one of the most esteemed group of artists ever to come together. And all of these beautiful beings all together are part of a community of artists with very unique experiences to share at a very unique time in our history. So this is going to be a very monumental and pivotal conversation that is going to yield a lot of consciousness. I'd like to start out by thanking Adam Lambert, of course, for pulling all of this together. The world, of course, knows Adam very well, and right now this is being sponsored by the Feel Something Foundation, which is very important. It is a collaborative group to raise awareness of the LGBTQ+ experience in music, and these are all very unique experiences. I think the important thing to keep in mind, which you, the viewers, and everyone here will experience today, is we are a group, but we are also individuals, and our experiences and our journeys are very powerful and connect to lots of others and millions of other individuals. Some are on different points of the journey. This is a journey where we have some people who are more emerging talents that are just finally getting to get the exposure that they deserve. We have some that have been around a very long time, and we're speaking to millions and millions of artists that are out there trying to be heard and trying to make their voice heard. And thanks to the courageous group of people on this call, we will be able to help bring up their voices as well, which Adam, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but I believe that was your goal in starting this organization.
Absolutely. You know, it was just time to get involved. It was time to take it to the next level. And, you know, I think the queer community, we face a lot of challenges. And I wanted to focus on specific ones, and outreach and conversation and education is really, really important. That's how we promote visibility. That's how we get people comfortable. That's how we continue to mainstream ourselves. And regardless of that, like, I feel like we got to build each other up, you know, and provide community. I think that's super important.
Yeah, absolutely. Stronger together.
Yeah.
For sure. So I'd like to introduce everybody at the start, but I'd like to introduce you with partnership with you. So I'm going to say a few lines, and then I'll let each of you kind of say anything else you think is really important to share messages about your own experiences, your own journey, and why you think this is an important time to come together. Adam, of course, you know, has been blowing everyone away since the 8th season of American Idol. We became acquainted then, many years ago, and then you went on to release just the phenomenal debut album, For Your Entertainment, and you got a Grammy nomination for What Do You Want From Me? And it followed with Trespassing, which became the first album to reach the #1 spot in the US and Canada by an openly gay artist, which is really, really just record-breaking. And of course, you have an incredible documentary on Netflix now. Everyone can check it out. Really documenting your kind of side hustle as the lead singer of Queen. So it's been great watching you kind of have these two careers connecting with so many different audiences through both of those paths.
Well, just to kick things off, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. This is so exciting. This is something that is such a fantasy. You know, I'm sure you guys can attest this, that the music industry, especially for those of us that are queer, that are technically outsiders, it can be sort of a lonely journey. and it can be sort of isolating. And I love the idea of being able to create more community feel. I think those of us that feel this way, that feel like we're on the outskirts, moving our way in, finally getting our shot with equality in the music industry, we know that there's a lot more to do. So I wanted to kind of open up the conversation today and ask everybody about their experiences in the music industry, ask people for ideas, and just celebrate each other. I love you all. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, why don't we start out actually, I'm going to introduce Ferras next. And that would be a good place to start, of how you feel sort of creating union in the LGBTQ plus community is, music community in particular, is so important right now. And having that support from your fellow artists. Ferras, of course, you're just mind-blowing singer, songwriter, and artist. You've written for some of our favorite artists, Katy Perry, Dua Lipa, Ricky Martin, Adam Lambert, of course, and many more. So, Ferras, why don't you tell us about why this moment is so important?
Well, hi, everyone.
Hi!
Thanks so much for having me. I think, like, having fellow sort of people in our community to be able to share experiences with and create that sense of family is so important, because especially in this business, we're pitted up against each other. It's a hungry sort of Hunger Games type of business. And when you already have that you're sort of dealing with, and then you're up against, of course, facing the challenges of being visible, in an industry where it wasn't always easy for us to be out there and to be ourselves. There was a lot of hiding. So to have that community, and celebrate each other and lift each other up, I think is so incredibly important, because we're stronger together, and when we're together, we're an army. And that's really what it takes to break down the barriers and break down the walls, and have a right to exist and create, and get our perspective and our art out there. It wasn't always easy for me, and I feel very fortunate, because I don't feel like I'm currently sort of up against a lot of struggle. I feel like, I've worked through a lot of that in my life. But when I was starting out in this business, it was door after door being shut in my face, based on my sexuality. I had multiple meetings with record label executives who would say, "You're too fey," or "You're too gay," or "We don't know what to do with you." Mm. And I'm like, really? Well, that's interesting, because I sing songs, I write songs. Who I sleep with, what does that matter, really? And so it was a really tough journey, to break through and to finally be heard. But I think at some point along the way, somebody decided it was okay. It was okay to stand behind me and say, "We're going to give you an opportunity." And I'm thankful for that. But if I could look back at that kid living in Illinois in a town of 3,000 people, 15 years old, saying, "I wish somebody would give me a break. I don't feel like there's anybody like me." If I could look back at that person and say, "You know what, keep on, just hang in there, you're valid, you're beautiful, you're worthy, you're enough." And that's what's so great about these types of organizations and the internet, and people like Adam and yourself and all these wonderful creators here coming together to show that, you can do it. And we've made so much headway. And yeah, so that's sort of my experience, I guess. There's probably more to it, but there's a lot of people that need to talk. So, and I could.
Yeah.
I love you, Ferras. I love you.
I love you too.
Next, I want to introduce someone who really needs no introduction. One of the most powerful, loud, and bold voices in our community and in general is Justin Tranter, Grammy Award-nominated songwriter, but also artist. Is when we first got acquainted many years ago with the Semi-Precious Weapons. But since then, just an unparalleled career as a songwriter. Everything from Selena Gomez's recent #1, I'll Lose You to Love Me, to Imagine Dragons' Believer, to Justin Bieber's Sorry, and more recent works, including Shea Diamond, I Am America, which is currently serving as just the most incredible inspirational theme anthem to HBO's series We're Here. Justin has co-written songs with everybody from Ariana Grande, the Jonas Brothers. The list is just endless. And you, of course, remain a very dedicated philanthropist and GLAAD board member, giving back every term, and won the prestigious ACLU Bill of Rights Award last year for your work. So, Justin, this is, everything we're talking about here today is very aligned with what you've been fighting for a very long time.
I mean, I think everybody on this amazing Zoom has been fighting for a whole lot our whole lives. Like, to quote Shea Diamond, our existence is a riot, you know, and just by existing proudly and in our truth, that in itself is a movement. And I think it's so amazing now to see the movement being elevated in so many different ways. You know, to what Ferras was saying, and you know, Adam and I have been friends, I think, for the longest of anybody on this call, and I'm friends with a lot of people on this call, but you know, when I first started getting signed as an artist, you know, what Ferras was saying, I would get signed, and then I would have like be on an email chain with an entire company of executives, most of them who I had never met. You know, I get emails where it would say, edit out this shot because his hands are moving too much, which was always so interesting to me because I was already in like full makeup and 6-inch heels. So like,
Yeah.
who the fuck cares about my hands? Like, if you're concerned about that battle, we've already lost it. But, you know, and so the band was dropped from 4 different record deals, which is a really interesting experience. My band members, who were all straight, supported my femininity, supported my queerness. And it was really interesting to watch them basically experience homophobia and have them deal with homophobia, even though they weren't queer, which was always funny. They were always, they're the nicest guys ever, but I'd always laugh like, oh yeah, now imagine dealing with this since the day you're born. You just have to deal with it in a business setting. Imagine it every single day of your life. But I was super fortunate to find a different way through this business, which is to write songs with and for other people. And I am still very queer. I am still very femme. It is an interesting experience, though, to see your ideas reach the top of the mainstream as long as straight people are singing them. So that is a very interesting thing to take, but again, beyond grateful that now that has happened to me, because I do have the platform and I do have the connections to make change and to raise money for the causes that I believe in, and to be able to, you know, sign Shea Diamond and collaborate with Shea Diamond and do everything I possibly can to make sure a Black trans woman reaches as many people as she deserves to reach, which is the whole fucking world.
AMES, I want to shout out to you. You grew up on a Southern Baptist missionary compound and have used your story to create music ever since.
Yes.
Yes.
That is true. Yeah, I mean, I think that my upbringing also kind of gave me a vocabulary that's very familiar to kids. I think a lot of us have probably grown up in the church, but there's a specific vocabulary that's very familiar to, you know, kids in the Midwest who've been raised in the church. And I think being on the very conservative, strict Christian side of that and getting that vocabulary has helped me kind of integrate it into songs that are, you know, I have a song that has biblical references, but the song is about a girl. And so it doesn't shock people as much because they're used to hearing that vocabulary. And I feel like that's something I've always done with my work, is try to kind of integrate old terms that I'm used to growing up with, like, you know, my new self after I came out. I think, you know, the most important thing about being an artist is showing your whole self and being vulnerable and letting people see everything. And when you are masking that person, everything you do is watered down.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. And I never understood. I started singing and performing songwriting in 2004. And I got shut down a lot. I had people tell me I was too masculine. And I had people tell me that we don't know how to market you. Like, we don't have an audience for you. And so I started just watering things down for years and years and never understood why, you know, things didn't happen and things didn't pop off. And it's because I wasn't being myself. I was writing vanilla material. And I think as a queer artist, you know, we're fighting two battles. We're fighting to express ourselves, and then we're fighting to also not express ourselves. It's oxymoron. But I think, especially what's going on in the world right now, I think places like the Midwest are becoming more and more becoming more dangerous, I think, battlegrounds for people in the LGBTQA community because of, you know, what's going on in our political climate, social climate. People are becoming more up in arms in those places. And I think for me, I really want to try to reach those people as much as possible, because that, you know, that kid in Idaho, or I'm from Oklahoma originally, that kid in Oklahoma is just, it's just feeling even more, they're feeling even more constricted there. And not everyone can move to Los Angeles. Not everyone can move to New York, or, you know, places where they feel like they can express themselves, especially with the economy. So I think social media and everything, it's super important to try to reach especially those kids, because I know when I was a kid, I really felt like that was it for me. I had no hope whatsoever. That's the most despairing, the worst feeling. And so sorry, that was really depressing. But yeah, I'm continuing to do that, and I'm continuing to expand my vocabulary and try to tell other people's stories, not just my own, because you know, there's so many of us, and our stories need to be told. So yeah, I'm AMES, everyone. Hello.
Hi.
Shamir, I just love you. I just love you. Your performance at the Billboard Pride prom last week or 2 weeks ago, I have no sense of time anymore, was just wonderful. And you are a singer, songwriter, and actor from Las Vegas. For anyone who does not know Shamir, who is just blowing up right now, you've had 6 studio albums across genres. I mean, you're sort of a genre to yourself, between R&B, dance pop, indie pop, a lot of different influences you hear in your work. And you've toured with everyone from Years and Years to Marina and the Diamonds to Troye Sivan. And I think it is just really, really incredible to have you here today, and would love to hear your perspective on sort of what we've been discussing so far.
Yeah, thank you. Wow. Hi, I'm Shamir. Yeah, I think it's one big thing for me that was like really important for me when it came to when I entered this industry at a very young age, to 19. I knew that I always wanted to be myself, and I knew that the industry was going to have a whole different lens when it came to viewing me than I did myself. And I think I've had this very up and down and unique and roller coaster career because I always done what I wanted to do. And I think me as a Black, queer, non-binary person and artist, to be an example of doing what I want regardless of what's expected of me, I think is something that needs to be seen, that even I can't really pinpoint myself as having that kind of representation growing up. And that goes into just even the music that I make, you know, like I'm releasing my 7th record and I've only been in the industry for 6 years. And I've played, you know, the last show that I played was in the basement, but I've also played arenas. So it's, I do all of that because I want to be this all-encompassing artist. And I think not even just talking about, you know, from a queer point of view, just talking about from any, you know, kind of like using my platform to be as multifaceted as I can be, I think is just an act of protest within itself. And that's I always, you know, view anything that I do and how I navigate my career, because I don't take my platform for granted.
LP, you are certainly a globetrotter from the US to Mexico and Latin America to Russia and Poland and Italy and France. Your songs are currently being streamed over 4 million times a day around the world, which is insane, and the amount of people you're reaching in such a beautiful way. So what has sort of your experience been, but I'd really love to hear too, I think we all would, your global perspective.
Wow. Very loaded, but I'll try. I think that, you know, I think sometimes I feel like some countries are more amazed to see me than I am, you know. And, like, they're like, how, you know? And I'm like, really? I don't, you know. I think that it's, you know, like everyone is saying, your existence is important, you know. Everyone's existence, panel, you know, and beyond is just very important to, you know, persist, to be visible as you can, you know, because it really does help. I see so many men too, but many women, like in, you know, I have like really big followings in Eastern Europe, you know, in countries that it's still not cool at all, you know, in Turkey. And I think they're, you know, I'm surprised that I'm a person that's helped push that forward, because I feel like people before me I thought they already did it, but it still needs to be, you know, cultivated. And it's interesting to see how much work there is that is being done, you know. And I don't necessarily feel comfortable after, like, you know, one hit in a country to be like spearheading a movement, you know what I mean? Like there's some groups will come up, you know, and try to like talk. It's like, you know, it is still dangerous out there. You know, it's not completely easy. And I think it just, you know, has proven to me that it's working, you know. Everyone's existence in this here has been working toward a goal of just exposure. And, you know, I don't want it to mean any, you know, I don't really lean on my queerness to forward. I just like very much about kind of keeping it moving. I feel being gay is like just a side to, like, you know, being a musician, being a person. And I don't know, I think that I've just seen, I've been able to see in real time the growth of the world. The world's coming together. You know, some places are a bit behind, but they really do need all of us to, you know, keep being out there. And they need community, especially, you know. And I feel like even my shows, I notice a lot of people that have really, you know, bonded together through seeing, you know, I'm sure you all witnessed people bond over someone that like makes them feel like they're not alone. And you know, I feel, you know, very honored to be a part of you know, anybody's forward movement.
Mary Lambert, you were obviously one of, you know, a very important voice who's been part of one of the most historic moments in moving us forward at the Grammys several years ago, as we all remember. But in your own right, of course, you are an everyday activist and a Grammy-nominated singer, songwriter, poet, musician, and artist. Your latest album, Grief Creature, is out now. I just love the title. And you're also the host of a podcast, The Manic Episodes, which is available on Apple. And everyone should check that out when you get a chance. But Mary, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me. This is really special. Everybody has such a unique perspective, and it's also interesting to see how, you know, many of us have similar challenges. But I think like the common thread that I'm noticing, sorry, did you have a question? I was just gonna go.
Just go.
I was just thinking about like just what we're talking about is something, my partner and I just watched Disclosure, which is this new documentary on Netflix. It's so good. Yep. But I just started thinking about representation in all forms of media and how important it is, like the importance of seeing yourself reflected in the media that you consume, and like what that does for a certain identity when you see yourself reflected on a stage or on TV or on the internet, like thriving and doing well, and what narratives are chosen with your identity. And so what does it psychologically do for queer people when the most common narratives in media are that are hardship, or that are, you know, are over sort of sexualized our bodies? You know, what does it do for trans people when most of the narratives are about, you know, are about pain? And so then the narrative of trans people just becomes entirely about pain. And I think that we experience that a lot with like narratives of, you know, of gay relationships in the media, that you're going to get, you know, it's about hate crime. It's about the oppression. It's not about the joy of, you know, being gay. So I was thinking about how that affects and demoralizes you as a marginalized person, but also how it elevates other stories that are the default. So like a straight white guy is not going to feel isn't going to feel psychologically demoralized watching something, because they're constantly seeing themselves reflected. And what happens when you're a child and that's all you see over and over and over again, you're going to start internalizing that shit, you know? So I don't know, I was just thinking about like being ourselves as we are authentically is revolutionary. It's radical to like love yourself in the face of everything that says that you should not be here. You don't belong in this place. To love yourself radically and to say my shit matters, and I'm going to sing about it, I'm going to write about it, and I'm going to fight tooth and nail to continue telling the story, because it's important, and not just for me and for my salvation, but for the salvation of future kids that are like dying to see somebody like me on stage, you know? Yeah. And that's why like it's been important for me in my music videos to be front and center. I mean, I love to be the star, but like also I want a fat girl to like think, oh God, I could be a lead. I could be the star in something, or like I am worthy of love, because fat people aren't really worthy of love in media. And I think what's so beautiful about discussions like this is that we get a time to sort of like connect with each other and talk about a sort of shared joy and shared resilience. But it also is frustrating because I don't know if executives are having these conversations, which is where those conversations need to be in order for real concrete change to happen. Mm-hmm. And I feel like the onus is constantly placed on people that like we would love to have more power, but don't really have as much power as we'd like. Mm-hmm. And so it can feel like I'm doing everything I possibly can. I don't know what else I can do to help. But I think there's always always a way to remember that you can use what talents you have to elevate the discussion forward and to elevate people that don't have the same kind of privileges that you do. So that like, I'm fat and like, how can I open the door for other fat artists? Like, how can I open the door for other people that are maybe, you know, marginalized in a way that I'm not, you know?
Parson James, again, glad you're here. We go back. You were at just a standout moment from the Billboard Pride Summit, first annual last year, but have been just a fierce advocate and artist. Your music you describe as conflicted pop gospel, which of course is, you know, really insightful way to describe it. You know, your lyrics and outlook hark back to the conflict you faced growing up. You've talked about this a lot in a conservative Christian community in the Deep South, which has really informed your artistry, the experiences. You landed your big break, of course, on Kygo's Stole the Show. Became a huge international hit globally with 1 billion streams. And your first solo RCA release, Sinner Like You, was released in 2015. And I know you have spoken quite a lot about just the obstacles you faced being of mixed heritage, you know, in your struggle to sort of break through in the industry.
Yeah, I mean, I think growing up kind of like AMES, I mean, not as, maybe not as insane, because that sounds like a crazy, but I did grow up in a, you know, very conservative Baptist community, and my mom's white, my dad's black. You know, she had me when she was 16, which is surprisingly not an issue down there. That's pretty normal. It was the fact that she was with a black man. So, you know, for my whole entire life growing up as just a kid, it's I'm gay. I know that from a young age. I'm mixed race. I'm just the complete opposite of what that community wanted, or, you know, I'm different here. So, you know, I just struggled with like the back and forth. Like people were so small-minded growing up. It was always like, what are you? Are you white or are you black? You can't be mixed. It was just something that they weren't comprehending. And so I found myself drifting to only hang out with white people, or drifting to only hang out with black people, because I just felt like I needed to fit in somewhere. And I was constantly questioning if I was wrong for, like, you know, or if my mom was wrong for, you know, who she fell in love with, and just, you know, being born in that type of place. So I had a lot of conflict, which, you know, as I discovered my ability to write and to sing, I started using that as fuel in therapy, and I started, you know, writing, you know, what was preached at me, these sermons, or, you know, all of that was preached at me. I started just kind of rewriting those sermons for myself with, you know, stories that I believed in. You know, I'm not a terrible human because I am a gay, beautiful, mixed man. Like, I'm not. And so when I first was getting signed and whatnot, the reason that genre title came up is because, you know, people do love to like pigeonhole, what is your sound, what is your this, what is your that, and it was just like constantly back to executives and stuff of being asked over and over again, like, where do you fit in, how can we put you somewhere? And I just like, oh, conflicted pop gospel, I just like said it or something. And then it just kind of stuck around. So then people started getting confused, like, oh, is he a gospel singer? I was like, oh gosh. So I got myself into something, not to mention I'm wearing the big black hat all the time, walking around like a preacher. But yeah, so I just wanted to talk about this with Adam. I think I've told you about this when I first got signed to RCA. That company was ran by 2 gay men. And I had come into that company with a successful single with a straight white DJ. And they were obviously just kissing my ass at that time. And, you know, oh, we're going to let you do whatever you want to do. You know, you're going to be able to put out whatever record you want to put out. But right after my signing, these 2 gay men that were running this company literally told me, maybe you should tone it down and not be so honest. I said, let me get this straight. I've pushed past all the bullshit from growing up in the South and like struggling with my race identity, struggling with my sexual identity, to finally have a chance to tell my story so that other people can connect to. And you 2 gay men who run this company and have the opportunity to allow me to so freely express myself, so are discouraging. So it was just super discouraging to like that be my first instance of like, okay, well, this is what it's going to be like. Even the gays running this company are not on my side. And then I put out a single that was literally a coming out single just to give them a big this. And, and ever since then, I've just been so dedicated to speaking up and to being completely genuine and authentic and honest, because I was so silent for so long. I was so passive as a kid growing up. I just didn't want to upset or disrupt anyone. I wanted to fall in line, and I didn't have anyone to really look to at that time. So if I have even like a smidgen of a platform and I'm able to use my gift, I'm going to use it in a way that is going to be helpful to someone, telling my stories and hopefully connecting to them in a way where their stories feel validated. There's always more to be done, and I'm super excited that this can happen. I want more queer collaborations. I want more, I want to see more emphasis on Black queer artists. I want to see all that stuff. I just love that conversations are happening. So thank you, Adam.
Yeah, my pleasure. I totally relate. The tone it down comment is like etched in poison in my mind. I mean, I've heard it for years. It's the worst thing. Like, tone it down. I'm expressing myself. Fuck off.
Shea Diamond has arrived, as we know. So I'd like to introduce the great, the phenomenal Shea Diamond, who has been fighting to live her truth and doing just the most awesome job at that imaginable. She is a Black transgender woman who owns her experience, and amplifies the voices of all of us. But now, after all of her struggle, really living her dream, seen it all, her amazing EP is out, just hosted Billboard's Pride Summit this week. She's the host of Billboard's Pridecast as well, which has just been an incredible thing to be a part of with you, Shea. Just the artists that you've been able to host on that has been really great conversation. So everyone, I really invite you to check them out. Also on Apple and Spotify and wherever podcasts are heard.
I feel like I still have some living up to do with that amazing introduction.
Do you want to talk a little bit, Shea? Because I know you have a lot to say, and I love hearing it every time you do. Just about the importance of all of us being able to come together as a community.
Well, I think it's so important that we all come together, especially during this time, because again, we're always on the chopping block when it comes to any type of rights. And so if you know about the Black Lives Matter that is happening, you know that Black trans women are not a part of that movement like we would like to be and like we need to be. And so again, after the dust settles and the smoke clears, it still leaves trans people to fend for themselves. And so this is so important because it shows solidarity within ourselves, because when we didn't have the cis community or the support of the cis community, we had each other. And so we glorified and uplifted each other to a level of having us wanting to live, because a lot of us didn't want to live because of the conditionings. And so we provided security and safety within our own community. And I think now it's no different, that we need to start coming together and start showing solidarity and togetherness. A lot of people say, okay, well, you need to cancel Pride. Pride is never canceled. We can't afford to cancel Pride, because somewhere there's this Black trans kid that is sitting up, getting the Bible thrown at them from every angle, that's on the verge of suicide and running away from home into a world that they know absolutely nothing about. And I think with us being as vocal as possible and as visible as possible, it still gives them hope despite their circumstance. And showing solidarity, it shows that, that we're able to work together, even because you don't see too much of trans people working together. You don't see lesbians and trans people working together, gays and trans people working together. It's just, we are so divided. within our acronyms, our respective acronyms. And so you just don't find that support. And so you wonder, like, how do we do? So we become like these crabs in a barrel, and we're all trying to survive instead of thriving like we should be doing right now. It's 2020. We all should be thriving, you know. And when I think about our ancestors, like Marsha and Sylvia, that literally gave us the groundwork for our own liberation, and we still haven't taken those key points. We're still shaming survival sex workers when we know they're the ones who funded our movement to be where we are now. It was a whole bunch of survival sex workers that you know, that poured into community. So what happens now when we still allow trans people to have to survive and not thrive? And so during this particular time that we're going through a pandemic, I don't think people are really thinking about how are artists going to survive. Forget a thrive. How are they going to survive during this moment? And so you don't hear these questions. You don't hear anybody talking about it. We just saying, hey, can you perform for us? Hey, and can you do it for free? And so, you know, our landlords are saying still, hey, it's the first of the month. Where's the money? And so I have to explain that, hey, I have some good visibility coming in the next a couple of weeks from this project, you know. And they were like, you know, we need more than visibility. We need some green, you know. And so it's just like the pandemic and everything's halted. Like they said, you know, you're not allowed to work, you know. And so us as artists, we weren't allowed to work. But so how do we still pay our bills? Because nothing changed as far as that. I still have to pay my health insurance. I still have to pay my rent and things of that sort. So it's okay for us to find out about each other to make sure we're all okay. Don't assume just because someone has a lot of visibility that they're okay. You know, we should be our brother's keeper. We should be our sister's keeper. And we should focus on the marginalized. You know, within our community, we have always looked for some validation that was already there in order, before we uplift someone. We have always say, how many followers do they have? Before we support them, before we hire them, how many people can they bring out? Before we give them an award, how many followers do they have? How many people can they bring out? So we haven't thought about the people who actually do the groundwork and who's performing for free to raise the money. And so once we actually raise the money, where does the money go? It goes to the more favorable artists and the more favorable faces that have already, you know, transcended beyond the need of needing money. You know, it's like they got more money than God at this point. And so, you know, you think about, like, how can we change this narrative? How can we be the face of what our youth really need to see, you know, during this hour? And I believe that our youth need to see all of us succeed, because, you know, a lot of our community identify as lesbians, they identify as gay, as trans, as gender nonconforming. There should be representation in all of that, and not just one or two artists. You know, when you think of a Black trans artist, you shouldn't just think of Shea Diamond. You should think of the countless other artists that are trying to emerge, but they don't get the light of day.
We have a little bit of time left. So I want to jump to Ilsey and make sure we hear a little bit from you. You're here in Southern California, like so many of us. You're a main collaborator with Mark Ronson. That work has been incredible. The Heart was an anthem, was really an community with Miley Cyrus, of course, singing those wonderful words. Your co-writing and credits include Panic at the Disco's High Hopes. I mean, really just huge hits. Mercy by Shawn Mendes, In the Name of Love by Martin Garrix and BB Rexa, to name a few. So, you know, just another wordsmith who really tells our story through others as well as yourself. So would love to hear a little bit from you about what we've kind of been talking about here.
I don't know how I'm supposed to follow that, honestly. I'm very nervous right now. I'm very intimidated because all of you guys are incredible, and I feel so honored to be here with all of you. I guess what I have to say first is I feel like I'm a very newly visible member of this community. It's taken me a really long time to be open, I guess, about my sexuality and my identity. And I think what I've come to understand is that I kind of grew up in a bubble of liberal privilege where I didn't receive messages that there was anything wrong with how I felt, who I was. And I had this idea that I never had to state it and I never had to claim it, because I just could be who I wanted and it was okay. And that was fine. And everybody would just accept me. And what I've understood pretty recently is that that was selfish, and that was fear-based, and it was all of these things that don't align with my ideals and who I want to be as a person, and that it is such a political statement to be visible, and it's a political statement to own who you are and your authenticity. And so I think that that's why, you know, I've made the choice pretty recently to be public and to be open. And, you know, I think because of who I am and what I am and all of that, you know, I have to tell people what I am, and I have to tell people who I love, because they're not going to know just by looking at me, and they're not going to know just unless I tell them. And when it comes to writing music, and when I'm in a room and I'm writing songs, and you know, somebody, and we're going through lyrics and somebody says he, and I have to say, no, this song is not about a man. And that to me is important, because I think that, you know, especially if I'm down in Nashville and I'm writing country music, challenging those assumptions and challenging those beliefs with people, you know, they're all political statements, and it's all about kind of moving that needle and changing people's, you know, assumptions. So I think that, you know, for me, it's, like I said, I'm very new to this community visibly, even though I've been a part of it for a very long time. And I think now I feel like I can really make the kind of music I've always wanted to make. And, you know, as an artist, as a writer, and I just feel really honored to be here with you guys, and I feel emotional, but you know, I think it's taken me a pretty long time, but yeah, I think these are the best people in the world, because, you know, it's like, not everybody has to come to terms with who they are. And I think that the people that do, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Anyway.
I know what you're trying to say.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that we have a responsibility to be visible. We have a responsibility to be authentic. And I just really appreciate all of you. So,
love you. Love you.
Tyler Glenn, hello. Of course, you are broke through on all of our radio dials and speakers and streaming and just every way we experience music with the Neon Trees. But you also founded the Love Loud Festival in 2017 alongside Dan Reynolds, it's just been really incredible to see. And you sit on the board of the Love Loud Foundation, supporting LGBTQ plus youth in unaccepting homes and communities that are at risk of suicide and drug use. You will release this summer the 4th Neon Trees album, I Can Feel You Forgetting Me, which I am just so excited about. I think we all are. And you performed for Billboard Live at Home this week, and just a phenomenal performance. So would love to kind of get your take. You, much like Adam, have been in the game for a while and have had, and Justin, of course, quite a few people here. So have a unique perspective, and things have changed a lot in that time.
Hi, everyone from Salt Lake City. Here I am. I just want to make sure that there's time for Alex and Vincent. So if time's, okay, cool. Yeah, I think it's interesting. My only sort of frame of reference for coming out at the time that I was grappling with that was Adam's experience in the mainstream, and, you know, seeing that he got into so much, not only heat in like you know, rags, but on like morning TV for kissing a guy on the AMAs. Like that was my like, oh, I guess I have to, like, that's still a thing I have to face into coming out, you know, and this is 2000, probably 10. So I didn't come out till 2014 when I was 30 years old. And it's weird, the first 4 or 5 years of my career, I'm getting to share stages with, you know, with Justin's band and with Adam at certain shows, and then all of these really intense kind of rock bands that had a real machismo about them. And I always grew up in the alternative space thinking like, that's where I could hide, that's where I can kind of be flamboyantly queer and also not have to address my actual orientation. And I knew that for me, I was mentally suffering. I grew up in a modern American cult, which is the Mormon Church, and I didn't find out that I could go anywhere else until about 4 years ago when I decided to put that aside. And since then, it's interesting to have made 3 of my more popular careers or albums in my career before I was out and open and living my truth. And now, since getting to create music, you know, I got to create a record in 2016 that was without a ceiling, and it was completely about you know, embracing not only my queerness, but speaking to that intersection of faith. I think we've all spoken a little bit on that faith community. I am so glad that like someone like Dan Reynolds, who, you know, I wrestle with that too, where it's like, do we need another straight white ally savior? And I've been really in awe of how his immense popularity, how he's used that to not only shine a light on an LGBT foundation and platform, but also to like specifically in Utah, where suicide rates are incredibly high, and we're told within the Mormon space that there is no real future for a queer person. So it's really interesting as a 36-year-old man to still like in real time have a spotlight, be able to like create music that reaches people, and also be wrestling with my own instilled homophobia from my whole life and dismantling that. So I'm just, you know, that's all I can really say is I'm just grateful that I'm here. And, you know, it's incredible to watch people like Justin and Adam and Teddy and Shamir, who are people that I've rubbed shoulders with and collaborated with over the years, but not been able to like really, you know, get in the weeds and talk about our experiences. And it's just amazing to watch them flourish. So I'm just glad, you know, I don't live in LA. So I'm just glad to be in spaces with other queer artists, you know, Mary as well. So thank you for your time. And I'm just proud to be out and doing this. And I hope that we can all collaborate and have a drink and be together in a room soon. So
I do want to throw to Vincint next. You know, Billboard has been behind Vincint. You know, we've praised you as a legend in the making, and I think you're actually already a legend now. I would say the making part, we've moved past that. You started off 2020 with the debut EP, The Feeling, and then it was followed by the song Be Me, which was written for and fully supported by Netflix and Queer Eye. You are known as a multi-threat for your vocal range and choreography, of course, and graced the stages of the United States Conference on AIDS, honors 500 awards, Philadelphia Pride, Louisville Pride, on and on and on. So I really love, and it's my just extreme pleasure to introduce you.
Thanks for having me. This is like a gay Justice League. It's really nice.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I feel like everyone kind of touched on everything. The one thing I can say about my journey is I think I feel very new to this still, and I've been singing and touring for like 7 years, but I still feel very new to like recognition and making strides and like being on, like every time I say my name in any article, I like cry because I'm emotional, and I think that it's a huge deal, and it's never not going to be a huge deal for me because I didn't think it would happen. I mean, I'm a gay black boy from Philadelphia who does pop music, and have been told by pretty much every label that I've gone to that there's nothing they can do because there's no reason there's no way they can market this or they can figure it out. And I've been let down so many times that I just kind of had to figure out. And I turned to friends like Parson's one of my best friends, and Alex is a friend of mine. And I look at them and I saw what they were doing with their careers, and there was no room for no. And I got tired of being told no, or tired of being let down by people who promised me that they could make it happen or they had the dream to do it. And I kind of figured it out on my own. I'm independent. I don't have a publishing deal. I don't have a label, but I'm blessed to have friends who share my music, and I'm blessed to have publications like Billboard who are behind me 100% of the way. Like every time I put something out and I'm like, no one's gonna care about this. Hope they do. There's an article the next day and I'm like, that fucking rocks, because I didn't expect it to happen. And I never want to call myself a role model for kids because I'm still trying to get myself together. I didn't have anyone who looked like me who wanted to do pop music. I didn't have a Black man growing up who did pop music that was in the forefront or on publications that I've been on. And so now I understand the levity of how serious that is. And I want a kid who looks like me and wants to do pop music to see me and be like, yo, I can do that shit because he did it. And I want it to be easier for them. I don't want it to be as hard. I don't want them to go through as many no's as they've gone through. I don't want them to feel like they don't belong in a world of pop, because for the gay world, pop is white, pretty girls. And that is the tea. And there's no shame on them, because they're doing their thing and they write great songs and they perform well and it's awesome. But I'm tired of us being in the background, especially when we create the culture. It's played out, and it's not, I'm done with that narrative. I want to be a pop star. And I think other Black boys and girls want to be pop stars, and we deserve it. We have the talent, we have the work, we have all of it. And I think it's time. And that's my time. Okay, I'm done.
Conchita Wurst, all the way in Austria. You broke through, of course, I can't think of a bigger way, the Eurovision Song Contest 2014 winner. It's the world's biggest singing competition for people that don't know. 180 million plus viewers. And you became the global figurehead for our community overnight with the song Rise Like a Phoenix. And with words like "We are unstoppable," which I think is a theme that we're talking about today. I think us collectively are unstoppable. Since then, you've released your debut album in 2015. You did a second project from Vienna with Love together with the Vienna Symphony Orchestra in 2018 that was just so beautiful. And your third album, TOM, Truth Over Magnitude, came out last year featuring electronic music and a new artist named Wurst, your last name. So you obviously, much like LP, much like several people that we've heard from, have a global perspective. And how is it different than a lot of the experiences you've heard, and how is it the same?
Well, hello everybody. Thank you so much for having me. Well, where do I start? I mean, I heard so many things that are very similar to what I've experienced with the Tone It Down, and I'm like, have you eyes in your head? So with all those things, but I started in show business when I was 17, and I did a singing competition. That's apparently my thing. And with that being like the start, I now know, I mean, they probably casted me because I can sing a little, but also because I make good TV. Because I'm flamboyant and I'm out there, and they thought, oh, they have someone that the audience can, have an opinion about, and being very polarizing and whatsoever. And then I understood that, and it kind of was, oh, okay, you want me for that a little bit more than actually what I want to, I'm singing and I want to express myself through singing. But then I thought, okay, I can do that, but from now on, I'm a bearded drag queen, and I will represent this country. And so we'll make it from there. And you know what? by winning this thing, which was for me personally a dream come true. I grew up with Eurovision. It's the campest thing you can ever imagine. I got this huge platform to say something that is, you know, that is so close to my heart, and that is just something that I really wanted to talk about. And people changed. They all of a sudden thought, oh, okay, he's a bit a drag queen, but he's actually saying some things that are, you know, understandable. And I kind of think that especially in Austria, because there were petitions against me to represent Austria, they were pushing their own boundaries of, oh, okay, do I really care if he got a wig and a dress, or is it more about what he says and you know, the way I present myself, and probably some of our community. And so yeah, this is what I keep on doing. And I think I always try to be, when they said you're too much, I'm like, darling, wait a second. And so yeah, this is probably my approach. So yeah.
Alex Newell, what can I say? I mean, just such a multi-talented actor, Grammy-nominated recording artist, ruled the small screen and the big screen, a trailblazer in every essence of the word. Following your Broadway debut and the Tony Award-winning Once on This Island, you returned to music full on with original songs that have just exploded, and you starred in the just renewed NBC series, Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. So when we're talking about multi-hyphenate, it is Alex Newell, you know, who is just, you know, on your way to an EGOT, you know, just in every, I think we can all agree we see that in the future.
I mean, thank you. I don't know what to say. You all have said such amazing, poignant things, and they're all worthy to be said. And I hope you know the power that your tongue and your heart have. When I started this, when I was 18, I had no fucking clue what I was doing. And I let people put me in a box, and I let people tell me what to do, what to wear, lose weight, wear this, have your hair this. I was told, well, you're Black, so let's put you in an urban spot. And they were like, well, you're gay, so you can't do urban, you can't do gospel, but you have a gospel voice and a theater background. Where do we put you? And I was just like, why can't I just exist? Why is it that I can't just exist and sing and it will come? And they were like, well, how do we market that? And I said, that's on you. On you, that's your job. I didn't go to school for marketing. I barely went to school. And when I sit back and I looked at the point where I realized that I didn't have to hear these things, that I could own up to my own power and what I had to offer and have control over everything, and said, I'm going to be unabashedly me, and if you aren't here yet, catch up. And boom. When I say your tongue, your voice, and your heart are validated, and they have power, because they truly do. And as a community, we need to come together and amplify the voices of those who are screaming. They're screaming, but they're not being heard. And we need to amplify them and come together and acknowledge that. We have to acknowledge those that have been screaming. Because, you know, I was talking to Billy Porter yesterday, and he said, you are what I fought for. We're not going backwards, we're only going forward. And we can't sit here and be individual in our LGBTQ+ community. We have to be the whole thing. We can't sit here and tear apart, well, I'm this, well, no, I'm that, so I can't go over there, I'm so sorry. No, we're a whole community, and we need to be together throughout all of this, especially when it comes to being Black for me, and them saying Black Lives Matter, and I'm just like, really, is that what you're saying? Are you saying that Black Lives Matter? Black Lives Matter for you right now because you're Black. No, all Black lives matter. And that's all I got to say, because, you know, I could do a whole sermon right now, because I was at church. I am the church, damn it.
Last but not least, the great Teddy Gieger, who really needs no introduction. Multi-platinum, groundbreaking, Grammy-nominated singer, songwriter, producer, artist. Written songs for everyone across the spectrum that you can name, from Pink to Shawn Mendes to Maroon 5, Anne Marie, Leon Bridges, just
Hello.
everybody. And played, of course, an important role in Billboard's #1 self-titled Shawn Mendes album, co-writing 11 of those tracks. And in 2018, released your solo debut album, Liliana, as an artist. And that was your first release since coming out as a trans woman. So just so honored to have you here, and would love to hear your experience and how things have changed since you started in the business.
Well, thank you for having me. You can hear me and everything?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, it's been crazy. I only came out like 2 or 3 years ago. So a lot of, I mean, this has been amazing. I've learned like so much, and this is all very new to me. Also, like growing up, I didn't know a single gay person. I didn't know people were gay until I was maybe 10 or 11. That's when I was like, oh, like my dad told me, because I wanted to watch As Good as It Gets. And he was like, before you watch As Good as It Gets, you're going to have to like know about gay people so you can get all the gay jokes. And I was like, okay, like, but that was my introduction to like what being gay was, my dad, I don't know. Anyways. And then I didn't actually meet anybody who was gay openly until I was maybe 19 or 20. And I wasn't aware that that being a trans person was something you could be until I was probably same age, like 19 or 20. And I started kind of like, I had some friends in New York that like went to NYU. And before that, like, I was from Rochester, New York. And there's people there. I said something once about like, oh, I never met. And they were like, we were here. And that's the thing. Those people are there and they are screaming and but in the world, but in that little bubble, it's like, you don't hear it, because my parents don't know any trans people and they don't know any gay people. And maybe, you hear about a gay person or somebody, someone makes a transvestite joke about it's like hooker jokes. It's like, that was kind of my entire experience until I was maybe 20. And then I started meeting like real people and talking and seeing people who came out. And then there were more trans people kind of in the media slowly, like Hari Neff and Teddy, I can never say her last name, Quinlivan, the model, or those were two of the people I was kind of aware of. And even little complexities, like talking about surgeries and talking about hormone stuff, and that all was very scary. And also I had this negative connotation with it, again, because like I'm growing up with like, my idea of a trans person is not like, I have no reality based in it. And I know how I feel, but I'm like, well, I don't want to be a prostitute. So I don't know, is that where I'm headed? I'm like this little kid. I don't know what's going on. So anyway, that's kind of the background. And then jumping into like, okay, now I've had this career and I'm still dealing with all these feelings. And the more that goes on, it's like the kid's making a joke in school about the kid who like put his finger up his butt, whatever, like, and they're teasing him all lunch. And you're like, oh man, that's interesting to me. And then I probably shouldn't say anything about that. And like, there's all these little micro things. And then, I have this career, and then I want to, it was so scary to come out. And then I did, and everyone's great. So I don't know, and then I think just even me doing that, and everybody, all of you guys and everybody who's embraced me, and everybody else who's being visible and out there talking about it. And it is true. It's like the more that people do that, and then that empowers people to do that in their community. And then, you know, like, it's amazing how that really works. And I've really started to see that recently, and it's cool. That's kind of my vibe on this whole thing.
I think that's actually a great and very human way to end.
Yeah, I wanted to thank everybody. I mean, I wish we could just keep chatting. I want to say that hopefully this is just the beginning of something like this, and hopefully the next time we could maybe get together in person and really like have a dinner or something. I would love to be able to like really shoot the shit with everybody. There's so many things like I wanted to ask everybody, but I wanted everybody to have their time. And, you know, I think the one thing that I've been wrestling with over the past couple of years, and I think we all can, you know, relate to this, is that success is so relative, and you can get caught up comparing yourself to other artists, and that's what creates sort of that negative competition feeling, especially in the queer community when we're artists. I think success is relative, and finding your own version of success and finding your own reason for feeling that way and feeling validated and feeling proud of the work you're doing is so important. And I know that all of you guys today have like found your version of success, and I'm sure we're always all struggling with that on some level. And I think that's just what I want everybody to think about. You know, maybe we can come together and help each other feel really successful in the future. I really appreciate it.